Thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Gowdy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Miller, have you made a referral to the United States Attorney's Office?
To the Department of Justice, yes.
I hope it's a different group than the one that handled Fast and Furious, but you have made a referral?
Indeed, yes.
When did you make it? With a recommendation?
Yes.
You make recommendations for criminal charges, or just FYI forwarded?
No, we've recommended criminal charges.
All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, the need for a hearing like this epitomizes our fellow citizens' frustration with government. They are absolutely convinced that we spend their money differently from the way that we would spend our own, and they are exactly correct. The rest of America cannot comprehend of a $44 breakfast. They are pouring generic brand cereal while you are eating a $44 breakfast. The rest of America would never conceive of a $7 Monte Cristo mini sandwich. And neither would you if you were spending your own money. You don't go out of your pocket and buy commemorative coins. I don't know anyone who does that. But we don't hesitate to spend taxpayer money on a trinket like that. Giving bicycles to indigent children is a wonderful idea. I hate that you robbed yourself of the satisfaction of knowing what it feels like to do it yourself instead of spending someone else's money to do it. The ostensible purpose of this hearing was to exchange ideas. You know, Alexander Graham Bell has this marvelous invention called a telephone. Or better yet, video conferencing. The notion that you have to spend $800,000 to exchange ideas is laughable and perhaps criminal. And the part that galls me the most is the hypocrisy of GSA not even following its own damn rules. You are so quick to make everyone else follow the rules, and you can't follow your own rules. You have an event planner on staff. That'll come as quite a surprise to most taxpayers. What will come as even more of a surprise is the fact that you didn't even use them. You paid somebody else to plan the event despite the fact that you have event planners at taxpayer salary. And the scouting trips. You know, Mr. Chairman, the tribes of Israel sent 12 scouts into the Promised Land before they decided to invade, and GSA has to send 15 to Las Vegas to check out a hotel. Do you not see the outrage in that? Mr. Robertson, do you see it?
Absolutely. This conference was outrageous.
Well, I'm not going to be as self-congratulatory as some other people are. I think the fact that we're having a hearing is a loss. Most people don't need a hearing to know that you don't spend other people's money the way that money was spent at this conference. We don't need a list of recommendations from the Inspector General. We don't need to be reminded that you can't negotiate a discount on a purse because the U.S. government decided to contract with a hotel. That is criminal. And a mind reader? My guess is they will not need a mind reader to find out the American public has lost confidence in the institutions of government. And the response, I want indictments, Mr. Inspector General. That's a great way to get people's attention, an indictment. Not a memo, not corrective measure, an indictment. I went through your report and I wrote 25 times, what's the penalty? What's the penalty for doing what you found that they did? What is the penalty for negotiating a discount on a purse for your personal use because you work for the government and you steered work. What's the purpose? What's the penalty for tipping off a competitor of another bid? That sounds remarkably criminal to me, Mr. Inspector General. You know, Mr. Chairman, while this conference was being planned and executed, I was working in a small DA's office in South Carolina. We had budget cuts. We had to furlough secretaries that are making $20,000 a year. We started a fund out of our own pocket to pay for kids' birthday presents. We never thought about spending taxpayer money on it. Working for the government is a sacred trust which you have blown. So instead of a team-building exercise, you might want to investigate a trust-building exercise because you have lost it.
Thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Kelly, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, thank you for calling the hearing. You know, this is one of those unusual things, and Mr. Cummings was talking about being back in his district and walking the streets last week. And I got to tell you, the same thing happened to me in Northwest Pennsylvania. But I wonder if we could, we had a slide showing I believe, the mission statement, the visions and goals. Boy, that's a real eye chart. Let me just let me go through this.
Perhaps the gentleman could read from it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to read from that. I'm not that good. But let me just say, the mission, GSA mission, is to use expertise to provide innovative solutions for our customers in support of their missions, and by so doing, foster an effective, sustainable, and transparent government for the American people. Then it goes into the vision part. And when you go down to the third bullet point, GSA vision is government that works ever better for the American people. It's fueled by two powerful sparks for change, namely sustainability and transparency. The former is a doctrine for managing resources with utmost care and an obsession with no waste. The latter is a doctrine for inviting our collective intelligence and our wisdom to work. Then it goes down to strategic goals, and it goes to what the GSA will test innovative solutions in its own operations, offer those solutions to other agencies through its government-wide contracting and policy-making authorities, which we find out they don't follow. You know, as I look through this, there's no wonder that the American people have lost faith in their government. Now, let me ask you something, Ms. Johnson. Who have, to date, there was at least 4 regional administrators placed on administrative leave. Is that correct?
Regional commissioners, I think. Did you say administrators?
Regional administrators.
No, the regional administrators were
Jeff Neely, Paul Prouty, Robin Graff, and Jim Weller.
Those are regional commissioners.
Okay, so they're on administrative leave.
Yes, they're from the Public Building Service.
Okay, so, but they're still being paid.
I believe so, but I am not
Mr. Neely's being paid. He's on administrative leave.
On administrative leave, my understanding is the person is...
Okay, any idea what these folks make? Maybe Mr. Robertson, your chief of staff, you surely would know what these people make.
I'm happy to provide the exact numbers, but I believe they're all at the top of the SES scale.
Okay, so what is the top of the scale?
I believe it's close in somewhere in 170 range.
170 range. You know, Mr. Chaffetz made some good points. You know, I've got to tell you that thank God this time what happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas. The disappointment of these hardworking American taxpayers to know that the GAS, the watchdog, the people who are going to make sure, listen, they have an obsession with no waste. To see this go on day after day in our government, asking people to give more of what they have, dipping into what they have to support a government that wastes more and more of their money. I don't think anybody minds paying taxes if the money's well spent. But they sure as heck resent the fact that a government that tells them they have to pay more of their fair share cannot cut back anywhere. In fact, when you folks come in and you're in charge of it, you can't even answer the questions, who did what, when did you know about it, what did you decide to do about it? Who the heck is the watchdog? And if the watchdog's being fed so well, why does it even care what goes on? And I got to tell you, it's so easy to spend somebody else's money, especially when you're not held accountable. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the American people have to sit back and watch this. Mr. Johnson, you have a great record of public service. I read your resume. I mean, I can't tell you. This is very impressive. Well, tell me what you did in your last job before you came here.
I was at the Computer Sciences Corporation.
But in December of 2008, you were on the presidential transition team and then came on to the General Service Administration. Mr. Robertson, tell me what you did before you came into GSA.
Before entering GSA or before the current position that I hold?
Well, before the current position you have. Now, I'll just go through a little bit, maybe like the last 5 years or 4 years of your career.
My career?
Yeah.
Immediately prior to the position I hold now, I was the Associate Administrator for Government-Wide Policy within GSA.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was the White House Liaison inside GSA.
Okay.
Immediately prior to joining GSA, I was the Deputy Working Group Lead on the Presidential Transition Team for...
Yeah, okay, let me just say one thing. For somebody in administration that talks about a clear and transparent government, a government that's more answering to the American taxpayers, I've got to tell you, I cannot, as a guy who's only been here 14 months, thank God some of us are here now. Because apparently you folks that have made a career out of spending taxpayer money have got some kind of a magic shield, or you stay inside this bubble that allows you to do those things without absolutely any feeling of wrongdoing. And to watch what's going on and watch those videos of what happened, and knowing that the people that I represent in Northwest Pennsylvania work hard, some of them 2 jobs. 2 jobs for mom, 2 jobs for dad to make ends meet. And they watch their tax dollars being spent and wasted in this way. It's an absolute shame to have to sit here in this meeting today and listen to that and watch as we take the 5th. Okay, fine, that's your constitution, right? Not sure, cloudy, murky, I don't know. It happened before in other administrations. All I was doing was kind of moving the ball up. It's pathetic. And I got to tell you, I can't tell you how disappointed I am. And with that, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman.